guys, I am late, and I am so sorry I am late, but wait till I tell you why I'm late. I just taught this class, and I taught it over in my money saving group. I have a money saving community, and I'm so used to teaching there, because I teach there a lot, that I went and taught over there instead of teaching you guys here. So I'm really sorry, but here we are. All right, and so we're gonna focus on doing day 1 of the Budget Rescue Boot Camp. So I was wondering why I wasn't able to see things. Hang on, now let me see. Yes, here I am in the right group now. That's a really good thing. You guys, I'm so sorry. I promise I won't be late again. And I wasn't really late because I was just teaching in the wrong place. But you guys are here and that's awesome. So, and if you're not here live, that's great. Go ahead and watch the video, watch the replay. Okay, it's gonna be here. These videos are gonna be here, I think through Sunday. So make sure that by Sunday, you guys have caught up on all the videos, okay? So that you're not missing anything. Let me just make sure that you guys all know who I am. Some of you may, some of you may not. My name is Jennifer Roskamp. I'm a mom of 9, and my husband and I are living debt-free right now. But before not right now, but now we've gotten to the point in life where we're living debt-free. But before you hear debt-free and think, oh my gosh, I'm so far from that, I don't belong here, let me tell you a few things about me and our journey to get here. So life hasn't always been easy, and we haven't always been debt-free. As I mentioned, we have 9 kids, so we do have a lot of people to pay for. There have been years, probably 5 out of the last 25 years have not been very kind to us. We were struggling to make ends meet for not all 5 in a row, but 5 years throughout the last 25. And so I know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. There was 2 years where we couldn't afford a Christmas tree. There was 1 year where I could only afford $5 for each of my kids in Christmas presents. There was 1 year where I could only afford to buy my kids 3 pairs of pants, 3 shirts, and 3 sweatshirts, and they had to mix and match so that hopefully nobody would notice that my kids only have these 3 outfits. And so we've been there, right? We've done that side of the equation. And then we've done the other side of the equation where we just built became debt-free and just built our dream house. And we've been in here less than a month now. And so money isn't a struggle for us anymore. And so I know what it's like to be on that end of the spectrum too. So it could be that you're living paycheck to paycheck, and it could be that you are earning good money and you're wondering, why am I always broke, right? So if that's where you're at, one end of the spectrum or the other, or somewhere in the middle, there's something here for everybody to learn. I think we can all learn how to do better with money. I think for a lot of us, it's a struggle throughout life. And part of that is because we aren't being taught how to handle money. There's nobody teaching us. There's nobody telling us. Sometimes the really simple things are all we need to kind of like connect the dots and figure out, why are we struggling? And sometimes it'll just be one little thing that you hear that somebody teaches you or that you read somewhere and you say, oh my gosh, that was the missing piece. And so hopefully throughout this week, I'm going to fill in some missing pieces for you guys. I've given you guys some good homework. I've given you guys some work to do before you got here. If you have questions about that, feel free to put them in the comments. And then after that, I have the piece that's going to connect everything together before we get to day 2, which you'll be getting that email in your inbox around 6 p.m. tonight Eastern time. So there's a little bit of something in here for everybody, and hopefully you are going to be learning some things that a lot of times they're things that we kind of know, but again, we feel a little unsure. I think a lot of us are unsure of how to handle our money, and we think we know, but yet somehow just hearing the same thing that we kind of already know, it helps to hear it from someone else. So hopefully there'll be some of that here as well this week. So every day, Monday through Friday, we're going to be here at 2:30 till about 3, 20 minutes, and I'm going to be filling in the pieces and talking about your homework. This is probably the easiest day of homework in terms of being able to understand it. So if you didn't have any questions based on today's homework, you might have some going forward, and I wanted to be able to give you guys the opportunity to get your questions answered, which is why I'm sending you the emails with the information in the homework first. I thought I would try it that way this year. I did the same sort of thing last year. It's a really good time of year to get focused on your finances and to really take a good look at where you've been, and then be able to take a good look at where you want to go and figure out how to kind of bridge the gap between the two. So this is a really great time of year to do that. So that is what we're doing here this week. So hopefully you'll learn some ways to save money. You'll learn some skills that will help you save money, because if you're saving money in one area, you can turn around and spend money in another area that you actually want to spend money on, instead of feeling like you're always buried in the things that you have to spend money on. If you feel that way, know that you're not the only one who feels that way. Most people actually feel that way, even if it's just from time to time. Finances can kind of get out of control for most people at different times. So it's a really good time to get that all in perspective. And so you might be wondering, what am I doing wrong with my finances? And so it's generally pretty easy. I've been helping people with money for years, and it's always pretty easy to try to diagnose the why. Like, a lot of times we can figure out why you're coming up short and where you're spending too much money. It's the how to fix it piece that is not always so easy. And when it comes to implementing something, the how to fix it piece is always a little bit more complicated too. It takes work. But you're going to see as we work through this today and going forward this week, it's really not hard work. It's really not. And especially when you know what you're supposed to be doing, it makes it easier. When you're confident that you know what you're supposed to be doing, it's easier just to get in there and do it. And so that's a lot of what this will be. So just a refresher on how this works, you're going to be getting your nightly email with your homework. Work on that over the evening and in the morning or whatever, and make sure you have that done when you show up for class here. As I said, if you can't make it every single day live, the videos will be here for you to watch at your own time. Just make sure you do it by Sunday night, because they'll be coming down Sunday night, I think, somewhere right around there. And then feel free to invite anybody to the group. Feel free to share this. If you know other people who could struggle or could learn something, or who struggle with money, either tag them in the comments here or just share the broadcast. And the more people you have who are kind of on the same page and learning the same thing you are, it's always easier to do things in a group than it is to do things on your own. That's why I'm doing this in a group, right? And you guys have done an excellent job of interacting with each other in the group already, which is so awesome. So I'm hoping that we can do that. Keep the conversation going, especially if you're not here watching live and you want to make a comment in the video, you still can. If you're watching this video later tonight and you have a question or a comment to make about something you hear or something you were asked to do with your homework, put it in there, because we'll still all see it. We can continue the conversation, okay? Feel free to post anything about what you're learning. If you have questions or even just an observation to share, feel free to do that over in the group. Okay. All right. So let's move forward with what your homework was for today. So today you should have 3 different dollar figures that you came up with for October, November, and December. I asked you to track your money coming in for those 3 months and your money going out for those 3 months. So you should be coming here with that. Okay. Now, let me give you the last little bit of the pieces of the puzzle for this. What I want you to do is look at those numbers for October, November, December, and decide, do I have a shortage or do I have a surplus? It's really important to know that. Maybe it's the first time that really in a long time you've looked at it on paper, and that might help you figure out, wow, it doesn't work on paper. No wonder I feel like we don't have any money, or no wonder I feel like we're always broke. It's because we really don't, based on what I have coming in and what went out. And a lot of times doing that sort of thing is real eye-opening, and it's a really good thing for you to look at it and realize it, because in order to fix something, right, you need to know why it's breaking down. So hopefully this exercise will help you do that. So do you have a shortage or do you have a surplus? But here's another important piece. I want you to look at those last 3 months, and I want you to figure out whether it's an accurate picture of your finances. Sometimes things can be skewed at different seasons and different months of the year. Maybe you worked more hours, or your husband worked more hours those months. Maybe you worked less. Maybe you had a lot more expenses. Maybe you did some traveling. There can be all sorts of things that throw off those numbers. But those numbers, for going forward purposes and just for you to know, you need to know whether those are accurate. So I want you to look at your numbers. I want you to look at what you wrote down and say, is this typical or is it not? And it might be that you're going to look at that and say, this isn't typical. So you might have to go back 6 months total and see, do the same sort of thing, but just extend it back another 3 months. and see. Maybe you're going to need to extend it back a whole year to get a really accurate picture. As I help people with their budget, here's a good example. As I help people with their budget, a lot of times they say, you know, our income is really up and down and all over the place. So how do I create a budget when my income is so variable? Well, the answer to that is you really have to take a 12-month snapshot then. You need to take all of your income for 12 months, add it all up, and then divide it by 12. And then that's what you plug into your budget. Same thing for your expenses. As you added up the money that went out, you might have variable things that are all over the place. And so maybe then, again, when I'm helping people with their budget, the same thing. If you have spending that's very variable, then you need to do the same thing. You need to add up all of your spending, divide it by 12, and then that's the number that you need to go with. And so not only do I want you to know after you have done your homework whether you have a shortage or a surplus, I also want you to feel confident with those numbers, that those numbers are actually accurate, and that your knowledge of do I have a surplus or do I have a shortage is actually accurate. So that's the second piece of how to kind of bring this all together before you start working on day 2. So make adjustments as necessary to these figures because they do need to be accurate. So whatever you need to do in order to do that, go ahead and do that. Maybe you just need to look through bank statements, credit card statements, whatever it is that's going to help you really get to really see what's been going on. Make sure that you know what's been going on, because having an inaccurate representation in this step is going to either give you false confidence, right? Or allow you to spend more money than you actually have if these were some really good months for you. Or it's going to make you a lot more gloom and doom than you really need to be if these were some really tough months. So make sure you've looked at it realistically and said, is this correct? Okay, because I want you to be working with accurate figures. So once you have done this, and you've made sure that it's correct and you've made adjustments, you're going to have a pretty accurate picture of the money that you have to work with this year. Obviously, if you know that there's going to be big changes happening with money coming in or money going out, you're going to want to account for that. But for most of us, most years are kind of the same year in and year out. And so you're going to have a pretty good picture of what your financial picture is going to be for 2019. Now, we're going to take that to the next step in day 2, okay? But that's why it's important to make sure that this is accurate, all right? So this is what you need to do. Make sure that you've done your homework from today. Make sure that you've looked at it and made sure whether that is accurate, whether those figures are actually accurate figures to work with. And then I want you to actually look at them and say to yourself for each of those months whether or not you had a shortage or a surplus. It can be real eye-opening. A lot of times, again, this is kind of one of those missing pieces that a lot of people have, is they've never actually put it out on paper. They just know that when it comes to paying the bills, things get a little wonky. And maybe they've never looked at it on paper, but once you actually put it on paper, it's real eye-opening to realize, well, that's why it's not working, or that's why it's a struggle, or that's where all that money went, right? Maybe it's the first time opportunity you've had to do that in a long time, but that's really good. That's why I wanted to start here for day 1, because we got to get it all out there, the good, the bad, and the ugly, which you've already done some of that with the pre-homework as well. So it starts with knowing what you have to work with. A lot of us want to turn over a new leaf, do it better in 2019, do it differently in 2019, so you have to know what you have to work with first. It's where it has to start. So be sure to check your email tonight for the next step. Day 2 is coming up around 6 p.m. tonight. If you are not having any idea what I'm talking about the email, I'm going to put a link as soon as I'm done here with this video of where you can go to sign up for this group and for the full teaching to make sure that you are actually signed up and receiving those emails with all the really important information so that you can show up to class ready. I'll put a link right above this video where you can make sure you're signed up. That's also where, by the way, you could send any friends or family members that you think or know could benefit from the same information. Send them there so they can put their email in so they can get signed up and get the emails and get going and join us here, okay? All right, you guys, watch for your email tonight at 6, and I will see you back here at 2:30 tomorrow, and I promise I won't be late. I'll be in the right group tomorrow. All right, you guys, I'll see you later.